The tiny tiger cub should have died before sunrise. At least that's what everyone at Maplewood Wildlife Rescue believed when the call came in at 2:07 a.m. A transport truck from a collapsing roadside zoo had arrived with a fragile cargo, a newborn Bengal tiger whose mother hadn't survived the journey. He was barely breathing. The cub was no bigger than a loaf of bread, his orange fur still damp, his body too weak to even cry properly. Without warmth, milk, and constant care, he had less than 12 hours left. Dr. Ellis, the sanctuary's head veterinarian, had seen situations like this before. Orphaned cubs rarely survived without a nursing mother. They tried everything. 2 different surrogate mothers from the rehabilitation unit were introduced. Both rejected him instantly. Time was slipping away. Then someone mentioned Rosie. Rosie wasn't a tiger. She wasn't even a wild animal. She was a tiny 3-year-old calico barn cat who had just given birth to 4 kittens only 4 days earlier. She weighed barely 8 pounds and spent most of her days wandering around the barns chasing mice and demanding snacks from the volunteers. No one seriously believed this would work. But there were no other options left. The cub was wrapped in a towel carrying his mother's scent and gently placed near Rosie's nest. The room fell silent. Every staff member held their breath. Rosie lifted her head slowly. She sniffed once, then again. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the little calico stretched out one paw, hooked the striped cub with surprising determination, and pulled him directly into the warm circle of her belly. Just like that, he became one of her babies. The room erupted in stunned whispers. They named him Raja. For the next several weeks, Raja didn't know he was a tiger. He nursed beside Rosie's kittens, pushing between them with clumsy determination. He slept piled on top of the tiny group, his striped body tangled among the patchwork fur of his new siblings. Rosie treated him no differently. She groomed his bright orange stripes, with the same relentless care she gave the others. When he cried in the night, she was there immediately, wrapping herself around him until he quieted. But Raja was growing fast. By the end of the 3rd month, he was already 4 times larger than the mother who had raised him. His paws were enormous, his muscles forming beneath his fur, and his voice was beginning to deepen into something far more powerful than a kitten's meow. Still, whenever he felt uncertain, he looked to Rosie, and Rosie was always there. By month 4, the difference between them was impossible to ignore. Raja was now the size of a large dog. His shoulders were broad, his paws heavy, and when he walked across the barn floor, the sound carried through the entire building. Rosie, meanwhile, remained the same tiny calico who could fit easily in someone's arms. Yet every evening she still stood on her hind legs just to groom his massive face. To Raja, she wasn't small. She was his mother. But Maplewood Wildlife Rescue faced a difficult reality. Raja was a Bengal tiger. One day he would weigh more than 400 pounds. He needed to learn how to be a tiger, how to hunt, how to explore, how to live among his own kind. Keeping him permanently bonded only to a house cat could harm his future. The decision to separate them was heartbreaking. The day Raja was moved to the large forested tiger enclosure, everything changed. He stopped eating. He paced endlessly along the fence line, his amber eyes searching every person who passed by as if expecting to see a small calico cat walking behind them. He ignored toys. He ignored food. At night, the staff could hear him calling out, not with the roar of a tiger, but with a lonely cry that sounded disturbingly like a lost kitten. Rosie wasn't doing any better. She wandered the barn constantly, calling for him, leading her kittens in restless circles as if searching every shadow. After 10 days, Dr. Ellis delivered the truth during a staff meeting. They're both declining. Director Hammond made the decision immediately. If their bond was what kept Raja alive, then the sanctuary would honor it. Within days, workers built a connected habitat, a bridge between the barn and Raja's forest enclosure. A secure mesh barrier would allow them to see and smell each other safely before any reunion. The moment Rosie arrived at the gate, Raja heard her. The sound he made was something no one in the sanctuary had ever heard before. A deep tiger chuff mixed with the desperate cry of a kitten. He sprinted across the enclosure. Within seconds, his enormous face was pressed against the mesh barrier. Rosie reached her tiny paw through the gap and touched his nose. 3 days later, the gate was opened. What happened next left the entire staff speechless. Raja immediately dropped to the ground, lowering himself the way he used to when he was a cub, making himself small for her. Rosie walked straight up to the giant tiger, pressed her forehead against his jaw. and began purring so loudly, the handlers 20 feet away could hear it. From that moment on, everything changed. Raja's appetite returned. His confidence grew. With Rosie nearby, he began engaging with the sanctuary's training programs and developing the instincts he needed to become a powerful, healthy tiger. Years later, visitors to Maplewood still witness the same evening ritual. As the sun sets over the enclosure, Rosie curls beside the massive tiger she once raised like a kitten. She carefully grooms behind his ears. And Raja responds with a deep, rumbling sound. Too soft to be a roar. Too deep to be a purr. He is a tiger who knows exactly what he is. But he also remembers who raised him. And that made all the difference.